I'm back for one final segment with international speaker, business consultant, and author, Dr. John Demartini. You've written a book called The Heart of Love, and in it, I think you discuss 5 key myths. Well, the one that I kind of was most interested in, or I think a lot of people want to engage in, is this issue of when I find my soulmate, I'll feel complete. Is that a myth?
Well, I always say that any area of your life that you don't empower, somebody else will overpower.
And what do you mean by that?
Well, I say there's 7 areas of life: spiritual, mind development, career development, financial development, family, social development, and physical health and well-being. Any of those areas that you don't have command over and you don't discipline and develop and empower, other people are going to run you in that area. So if you don't develop your mind, you're going to be kind of told what to think. If you don't develop your spiritual quest, you're going to be kind of indoctrinated by some outside authority. If you don't raise your own money or build your own company, you're going to have people telling you what to do. So in a relationship, any area of your life you're not empowered in, very commonly you'll attract somebody else to empower that area. The only reason you're disempowered is not because you have to be. It's because you haven't asked questions and learned to appreciate what you have to offer. So often I see people that are minimizing themselves and negating themselves and not knowing how to ask questions to see where they're offering things. They're minimizing themselves, subordinating themselves to outside people, injecting the values of others into their life, and trying to be somebody they're not, instead of honoring themselves and living in their magnificence and living inspired lives.
So what does that look like in practicality in a person who is, mid-20s, late 20s, and is looking for the perfect person out there, but is in a series of relationships they never seem to have any kind of bite to, and it never really lasts? What do you say to that person?
Well, they're probably, if that's the case, they're probably going after some infatuation. They're blinded by, I always say infatuation is blind. Love sees the whole, but infatuation is blind. They're looking for something to support their values, which will keep them juvenile, instead of honoring that life has support and challenge. A true relationship has support and challenge. You get cocky, they'll bring you down. You get humble, they'll lift you up. And they need to balance that. So if they're addicted to being supported and looking for something that's only pleasure, and they're looking for only this one-sided relationship, it's going to be short-lived. It'll be transient. But if they embrace both sides and know that every human being has got they got everything. You don't ever get a one-sided person. If you're expecting somebody to be nice without mean, or kind without cruel, or giving without taking, all one-sided, you have a fantasy. You're not going to sustain a relationship with that. You got to embrace both sides. Kind of like the marriage vows. Richer for poor, positive, negative. You need both sides. And so when you can finally embrace both sides of them and embrace both sides of your own life, that's when you empower yourself. Because you're not trying to get rid of half of yourself in order to be something you're not. Love yourself. The book, The Heart of Love, is designed to help people identify what their values are, set goals that are congruent so they empower their life, learn the values of other people so they can learn how to communicate their values in terms of other people. And there's a science on how to do that, how to link those and communicate. How to communicate in the person in a way where they feel inspired. How to dissolve a bunch of emotional baggage. Have a method in there on how to dissolve baggage that has accumulated from past parts of relationship. Because sometimes we're carrying stuff from a previous relationship. How to dissolve that so we can be grateful. Because anything we're not grateful for in our life runs our life.
As you think about your own relationships in your life, I mean, you've written all this stuff, and surely, what are some struggles that you've had personally? Maybe that's a crazy question to ask you, but to say, what's something that you said, you know what, I haven't always been good at this in relationships. What's that been?
Well, I think that the reason we write books in the first place is partly to teach ourselves too. And so, as you go through the dynamics and you learn new things, you learn, hey, that will be useful to share with other people. And then you go in and research it. So I had challenges in relationships like anybody else. And I would be self-righteous and want them to be more like me. I always say if any 2 people are exactly the same, one's not necessary. So if you try to change them, they want to be loved and appreciated for who they are.
Differences are important.
You have to have the Greeks said that if you see more similarities in the person, you're infatuated. If you see more differences in the person, you're resentful. If you have a balance of similarities and differences, you have love.
If I could bring in your new girlfriend, her name's Star, is that right?
Yes.
She was sitting, I asked her, what's John's, what could John work on in the relationship? What would she say?
I don't know. She'd probably say, I don't know. I don't know if I could say that. She'd probably say, I'm very grateful to be with him, and I feel grateful to her, so I don't know. So I'd have to ask her.
You're obviously, you talk a lot about this issue of gratitude, and I think you have a new book coming out on the issue of gratitude. Is that right?
We have a book coming out this week called The Gratitude Effect.
Right, and in essence, you're saying, again, it starts with how I think about my life and relationships and how grateful I am. Is that connected with ideas of contentment? Because I think about, again, my training is in world religions, and most of the great world religions push this issue of contentment. And yet the world I see around me is so discontent. Are you connecting the issues of gratitude with contentment?
Henry James says nothing of the senses will ever satisfy the soul. The only thing that satisfies the soul is thank you, I love you. And I believe there's some wisdom in that. Because my observation, asking literally millions of people, you know, if you had only 24 hours to live, what would you do? And every single one of them says, I would communicate my love and appreciation to the people who've contributed to my life. And if I ask how many of you want to be loved and appreciated for who you are, they all put their hands up. So that's like the cornerstone of our existence. And I say that gratitude is the key that opens up the gateway of the heart, where inside the heart is love. And when you come out with love, then your mind becomes window washed and cleared, and you become inspired and certain and present. Your body becomes enthused, and you're alive. And so I think gratitude is the key. That's why I wrote the book, The Gratitude Effect, for that reason.
How is this book, for you, is this, I mean, it's your latest book, but in the last, we have about a minute left. What in this book to you is so important that people understand? Because
I've seen the gratitude, when you start with gratitude, I was born on Thanksgiving Day in America. My mom told me when I was 4 years old to make sure you count your blessings. Those that are grateful for what they got, they get more to be grateful for. I do it every day. I have the largest collection of gratitude lists than anybody ever met. I believe that once you do, you have a ripple effect. It empowers you spiritually. It opens up your mind and awakens your genius. It helps your career, because gratitude helps serve. It helps your finances. It helps your relationship. It helps socially. It helps your body. It's the most significant thing I know that I can contribute. That's why I teach it.
Thank you so much. I'm full of gratitude that you came on our show.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much. It was great to meet you. Dr. Demartini will be appearing in Toronto during several seminars on August 23rd, 25th, 26th. You can find out more by visiting his website, drdemartini.com. Stay with us. We'll be right back.